there has been a huge amount of debate relating to the asylum policy of the United Kingdom and what it means to everyone, what's fair, what's right, and how should the British people be feeling about this. And this debate that we're about to watch here on Newsnight kind of sums up where we are, politically speaking, I would say.
Zach Polanski, how would you describe these plans?
Well, we've just heard that rebellions are under the radar. That's not good enough. Every single Labour MP needs to look to their conscience.
Why?
The interview we just heard, you said it yourself. The question was, you never told anyone when they voted they were voting for this. This is extreme, this is inhumane, and it is a government of cowards. Rather than take on the powerful, because the issue here is not immigration, it's inequality. They went for pensioners, they went for the disabled, and now they're going for people who are fleeing war and conflict. I am furious. So many people are furious because this is a totally unconscionable way to deal with things. And how dare the minister say we are an open, tolerant country? How dare she come tonight to Newsnight and talk about compassion at the same time they're talking about seizing people's assets? I am a child of Jewish ancestry. I am Jewish. We have seen this with Nazi Germany. We are seeing it in 2025. This government needs to hang their heads in shame.
OK, you're obviously disagreeing. What would you say to Zach Polanski?
Well, because you can't just have compassion for the illegal immigrants coming on boats and not compassion for the girls that are being sexually assaulted by them and the people that are killed on our streets. We do have men that come on boats and within 8 days sexually assault 14-year-old girls. I find it really galling that the Green Party are so focused on illegal migrants, but they don't have any compassion for our young girls and women who...
I'm not sure that's true.
Well, first of all, an asylum seeker who is coming over here cannot come over here illegally because we need safe and managed routes, and it's very clear across international law that anyone is able to find safe sanctuary in a country. France is a safe country, but Britain is also a safe country. Germany takes twice as many asylum seekers as Britain. Secondly, sexual assault is a deeply, deeply awful and tragic thing that we need to prevent and stop. But there is absolutely no evidence that the people who are sexually assaulting people are people seeking asylum. And
I'm sorry, there is. There's convictions. There is convictions of people who came on boats. They have been convicted. Have you seen the case in Epping? Are you not watching the news? Of course there is evidence.
Well, this is the very definition of racism, is finding one case and saying, actually, this is the class of entire people across people seeking asylum. The people seeking asylum...
Let Lane Cunningham finish.
So we have a Borders Act, and it is actually illegal to come into our country without a passport, without documentation. So the way it happens, they come on a boat, and they are illegal migrants, and they land on our shores, and they say the word asylum. And they are granted all the rights of asylum seekers, yet they're coming from France, and the illegal entry offence is neutralised. We only prosecute 1% of illegal entry into this country. How can we be a democratic, sovereign country when we have decriminalised illegal entry into our country? I want to see some compassion, and some compassion for the girls that are being sexually assaulted, the man who was killed in Uxbridge. And I find it quite shocking that the minister you just had on, all she spoke about was the safety of the people coming on boats. It's obvious that the safety of women and girls in this country is not Labour's priority because she didn't mention it once. And that's what we're fighting for.
Sorry, just on that, Labour have a commitment to halve violence against women and girls, but within a decade, by the end of the decade. I think I'm right in saying. I want to ask you, Zach Polanski. The Home Secretary said illegal migration is making this country a more divided place. Is she right?
The Home Secretary is making this country a more divided place. She talks about the racial abuse she's experienced, and that's awful. But we know that every time the Labour government parrot reform and bring in these sorts of policies, we know that hate crime rises. We know there are lots of people in this country, people of colour, who are not migrants, who are already feeling marginalised, who are already feeling in some places where they don't belong. We're having this whole conversation driven by Tommy Robinson and the Millionaire Reform Party.
Don't speak for people.
That the Labour government...
Let him finish, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
That the Labour government are emboldening this kind of rhetoric from reform, because I don't know what Keir Starmer's plan is here. If people want Nigel Farage and reform, if they want the kind of racism that Tommy Robinson is pushing when we've got Labour ministers saying deport, 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 and Tommy Robinson is saying the Overton window is obliterated, they'll vote for reform. They've got that choice. So I'm destroying this country. Bankers are bankrupting this country. Fossil fuel giants, armed trades companies, they're the ones that are destroying this company. And ultimately, if we want to stop the small boats, and I want to stop the small boats, no one wants people risking their lives.
You treat them as asylum seekers.
Actually, that's an outrageous thing to say. They are asylum seekers.
Why do you stop them? Why do you want to stop them?
Because I want people to be able to get
I thought we're an open and tolerant country.
safe
Why do
and
you want to
managed
stop
routes
them?
so they can apply for asylum.
Why do you
because
want-
most asylum cases are seen to be legitimate, over 80% of cases.
And
I
that
want
is
them
a
to be able to
problem.
come here to a processing centre in a way that is dignified and treats people
Layla
with humanity rather than as numbers or pieces of crap, which is the way the Labour government are treating them.
Oh, well, I'll put that back to the Minister later. Layla Cunningham, would you expect Reform MPs to vote for these measures announced today by the Home Secretary?
No, I don't, because you asked a very relevant question, Victoria. You said, if people come here illegally, why should they be granted asylum? You're rewarding illegal entry. We're rewarding crime. Our position is that if you come here illegally, you have committed a crime and you will be detained and removed.
Right.
And that's what any country
So even
that
though
values sovereignty...
Nigel Farage posted on X today that the Home Secretary sounded like a reform supporter, you don't think the Reform MPs will vote
I think
for
it's in
these?
the right direction, but I think it's virtue signalling. For instance, the three countries that she's going to prevent visas if they don't accept returns, we've only had a handful of people arrive on illegal boats. Why is she not including Pakistan in that? I'd like to see returns agreement for the Pakistani rape gangs, but of course that's her political base. Would she dare disturb it? We have rapists walking the streets, convicted rapists, and we have a community that protected them, and Pakistan doesn't want to take them back. I'd like to see visa restrictions on that, but I'm not seeing that. In fact, I'm seeing that she's opening legal routes that will be community driven. Who will vet those communities? Who will prevent certain communities, certain religions from overtaking that community sponsorship and we getting a higher proportion of, let's say, the Pakistani community that protected the rape gangs? How do we know more are not going to come in?
Are you comfortable with taking personal assets off people who the government says have arrived here illegally?
Victoria, they're not coming with personal assets. And again, it's virtue signalling. They don't have enough personal assets to cover the huge tax bill that the taxpayer is paying to sustain them. I think in one press release, I said that they're going to confiscate their cars and their e-scooters. They're not arriving on boats in cars and e-scooters. They are still being... She does not also deal with the 100,000 that are here, over 100,000, that are being housed in hotels at the taxpayer's expense.
There probably is a point of agreement here, which is for taxpayers, the hotels are completely inappropriate, as are the barracks. Ultimately, these are huge lucrative contracts between government ministers and some of these companies, whereas actually we should be putting people into housing and treating people with dignity. Because actually,
housing that should go to British people.
If we allow people to work, we know that migration is of economic benefit. We prioritise British people. There's 150,000 vacancies in the National Health Service. We have vacancies in the construction industry.
I'm talking about for housing.
And we have an ageing population who is going to pay people pensions.
We have hundreds of thousands on the waiting list for social housing.
Let's build some social housing. It's all a distraction from inequality.
It's not a distraction.
It's all a distraction for reform and their billionaire mates who want to divide this country rather than allow people to treat each other with dignity.
Do pause.
Now, whatever your political opinions are and however you view the current political landscape, I do believe that Zach, if he's going to get anywhere in politics, is going to have to amend this style. But it's very, very difficult for him to do that because that's what he is. He's an activist. He's certainly, for a lot of people in this country, he represents their political viewpoint, which is that of Marxism. Now, regardless of what you think of Marxism, and I'm against Marxism mainly because it tends to pile the bodies very, very high by the hundreds of thousands and millions even, I'm deeply against Marxism. But I do believe that if you want to support Marxism, then that's your personal choice and you are quite within your rights to do that if that's what you wish to do. At the end of the day, the arguments that the Green Party are presenting are the easy routes, the easy solutions to things. Everything will be all right as long as we tax the rich people, which is essentially what their argument is. You don't have to worry about welfare, you don't have to worry about government spending, and you don't even have to worry about paying for migrants, legal or illegal or however it is, because everything is going to be funded by the billionaire class. And to a lot of people in this country, that is a decent argument. I'm sad to say they believe that argument. And if it was packaged in the correct manner with a competent politician, someone, dare I say, with the gravitas of, a Nigel Farage, for instance, somebody who understood the political scene, then we would be in trouble. But fortunately for us, we have Zach Polanski there. And the man is just unelectable. It's a sad fact of political life that you have to look a certain way and act a certain way in order to be palatable to the electorate in general. And it's not Mr. Polanski. That X factor is missing from his whole personality, and whether that's fair or not is frankly irrelevant, because politics isn't about fairness. Politics is a popularity contest, and in that way I hope Zach stays in post until the next election, because I hate Marxism. If you want to believe it, fine, but it's not going to work, particularly not in Britain. And, the way Zach presents himself, I thought, was below par in many respects. Just blustering and activist and, getting angry. That's not gonna win any contests at all. But on the substantive point of what Layla was saying, yes, I'm in 100% agreement with all of that. The safety of our women and girls is of paramount importance. Yes, we already have our own large slice of rapists in this country, I'm very, very sad to say, but we don't want any more. We've got quite enough without bringing in any more of these people. Thank you very much. We're sick of paying for it, and we're sick of the whole lot of it. We want it stopped. And this is all it's about, because it's obvious that a huge amount of people agree with Layla. It's transparent in every respect. Thanks very much for your time.